Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Mark Moyer, author of Win Again, speaker, career coach, and business advisor. And I help athletes, executives, and entrepreneurs reach their fullest potential. What you're going to be hearing in every single episode are conversations with athletes and other sports-related influencers. And we'll be offering you the insight that you need to succeed in life, including advice that will let you jump past your competition, whether it be for a great new job or taking your business to a much, much higher level. Make sure to connect with me on social media at Mark Moyer Coach and go to my website, markmoyer.com, to get access to the tips and strategies that my coaching clients get directly. If you're looking for ways to make your mark, send me an email to mark@markmoyer.com and I'll get you going right away. Thanks for joining me today. It's going to be an awesome episode. Now, are you ready to make your mark? Let's do this. Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. My name is Mark Moyer and I'm broadcasting to you live from Miami, Florida, Super Bowl headquarters. So many amazing athletes here, so much talk about transition and really helping them make that next step. And I'm super duper excited to have you listening wherever you're listening, if it's here in Miami, somewhere else in the United States, or around the planet. Thanks for being here. And I just finished an amazing conversation with Dale Moss. And Dale was a standout football player in college. He played a little bit in the pros in the NFL. But most important to me, of course, is all that he's done since he left the game. He's really been such a successful entrepreneur transitioning, and now he's a top-end model. He's also got a few other businesses. This guy really rocks. You're going to love this episode. You're going to get so much advice and insight. Make sure you give this a listen. But before you do so, go to my website anytime, markmoyer.com. Click anywhere for great advice and insight on how to take your career and your business to a whole new level. There's access to all the previous episodes. They've all been great. And of course, please subscribe to this podcast by clicking on that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this or watching it, iTunes, Stitcher, etc., Spotify, and so forth. But without further delay, you're going to absolutely dig this. Great guy, great episode. We're in Miami. Couldn't be any better. Happy listening. Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. My name is Mark Moyer, and I'm super duper excited to have Dale Moss here. First of all, we're in Miami. What better place to be? This is pretty damn amazing. It is not 28 degrees like it is in New York right now. It's, 78 degrees or something. And so many different events, so many different things going on. But I'm excited that Dale carved out a few minutes for us. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. We are in Miami. It's beautiful, but this has been already one of the best Super Bowl weeks I personally ever had. Just because not only is there some fun involved, but being able to actually sit down, have these conversations, and learn throughout the process is a powerful thing. So thank you for having me on. I'm excited to get the conversation kicked off.
Awesome, Dale. We're going to have a lot to cover super fast. So number one, though, you're also here because you played the sport for a while. You played football for a while. But you're an entrepreneur, which is a whole different sport, and lots of ups and downs with that, too. But I'd love to hear a little bit, just to rewind the tape a bit, and tell me a little bit about growing up, and not just where you grew up, but what got you involved in sports in the first place, and what gave you that athletic mindset?
So I grew up in Brandon, South Dakota, a small town of about 5,000 people, and extremely humble beginnings. But athletics was always something I was drawn to. It was a big part of my life. My mom was, an all-star basketball player growing up in high school, and then later went on to play on an experimental U.S. national team that traveled the globe to break down a lot of political barriers. They were in Hong Kong, they were in Russia, and I really idolized my mother. So I actually grew up as a basketball player, through and through. And then as I, progressed in my athletic career through, high school, I started playing other sports. And then my dad and all my uncles were athletes. And then, so I really saw them and what they did. And my uncle won a Heisman Trophy at Nebraska. So it was a pretty unique
Now that Heisman Trophy, that's not really an important one, is it? It's the one given out to
Yeah. So I just remember, being my dad's from Nebraska, and Johnny Rodgers grew up with with my dad and all the uncles, so just like family. So from day one, I always knew we had maybe that athletic background, but also I had just great sources and resources of knowledge as I progressed in the games.
So how was it like? At what point did you say, all right, well, I'm really good at hoops, I'm really good at football? Like, at what point was the tipping point to?
Yeah. So I knew I was always gifted at both. I was a basketball player through and through, all the way through high school. I played football and basketball my junior and senior year in high school. Also ran track, but I had a full ride scholarship to South Dakota State University, but I was actually more heavily recruited for football than basketball. But basketball was always my first love. So I went to South Dakota State, which was an emerging Division I basketball program, and I went in wanting to play dual sports. It was just so difficult as a Division I athlete to play both sports, so I decided to focus on basketball and went through my 4 years of eligibility, and in a unique spin, I had the opportunity to sign and play professionally overseas and decided to come back for an additional year. And that additional year, 1 year of eligibility to play football is what gave me my opportunity to play in the NFL.
I'm really, I'm a little bit disappointed you didn't put on the ice skates.
Yeah, I stay off the ice. I grew up in South Dakota, but I'm not the biggest fan of the winter. But I like the path I chose.
See, I play ice hockey in New York, and I'm like, it's not easy.
No, it's major where I'm from. A lot of great friends, and I love the game. From my time when I played with the Chicago Bears, I fell in love with hockey because there is no better city, than Chicago and like their fan base. And I used to go to Blackhawks games all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a great arena. It's an amazing one, right? Have you been to the Garden for a Rangers game? Or
I have not been to the Garden for a Rangers game.
Right. We'll take care of that.
Yeah,
then.
That'll happen soon for sure.
Very good. So, at what point did you, when you're in college, you're playing at South Dakota State, and then at what point did you say, you know what, I wonder, can I make it in the NFL? Can I not? What was?
I always had the itch to play both, and I knew athletically there was no question I was there. But I continued to see players from my university get an opportunity, sign free agency, and I remember watching them and seeing, I was like, I know I can do that. If they can do that, I can do that. And I didn't want to play professionally overseas in basketball. And, from the time I went into college, I always had in the back of my mind, I'm going to play football at least 1 year. So when I went out in the spring and told the coaches I'm committed, I'm going to go out, I had to work hard during spring ball. And it definitely a learning curve. But I knew from the moment I stepped on the field during spring ball, my footwork would get better, but one thing I could do, like I didn't drop balls, and I wasn't afraid of anybody on the other side of the ball. I wasn't afraid to get hit. Keep in mind, I was coming into this as a senior, even though it was my 1 year of eligibility, playing at a high level on the basketball court. So I just had that, and I also had a chip on my shoulder saying, like, everyone thinks I can't even make this team. Not only do I believe I can make this team, I believe I'll have a shot to play in the NFL, and that's the only reason that I went out.
Oh, that's interesting. So, all right, you're 31-ish right now.
Yeah, 31.
Are you allowed to say? I don't know if whatever. Anyway, the Jets could really use a receiver right now. What do you think? Can you still get back out there?
Honestly, like athletically, truthfully, I'm the most athletic and strongest I've ever been. I still continue to train the same way, and I miss the game. I really do love it, but I'm so thankful and so blessed for how things have turned out, and I'm doing exactly what I've always wanted to do in life. Since transitioning out of sports, I'm doing more in the entertainment, building as a host and media personality in sports and entertainment, and also building on the other side of the camera, behind the lens, as a producer, bringing together really great projects for some major brands.
Well, that's really cool. So let's talk about that transition, because that's obviously something I focus quite a bit of my time and energy on. And so, and what I'm involved with now is something called Tackle What's Next, and it's really meant to be both a live event and an online program designed for athletes to help them with that transition. But I'd love to hear your experience. So there came a point where you said, okay, you know what? I gave this thing a shot. I've been signed and cut, whatever it is, by a few different teams. What point did you say, you know what, I'm ready for my next chapter?
Yeah. It was after my last stint with the Chicago Bears. After preseason, I was getting evaluated for second labral tear. I had torn my labrum originally, and while I was going through the evaluation process and, the doctors were reviewing everything, I just got that sense, and I also thought a lot about what was the next step, and I really wanted to take my life and my career fully into my own hands. I went through 3 coaching changes at Chicago, or I was in the midst of going through 3 coaching changes.
Were you responsible for those?
I was not responsible for those, but I saw the business of football, and I saw it in a new light, and it was tough, like seeing great men, players who should have still been there, not being there for strategy and different things. And I remember I had the opportunity to sign with the Arizona Cardinals, and it was a hard decision, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pursue my career in entertainment. And after that moment, I never looked back, and I have no regrets.
So with that said, what did you like? You woke up the next day. Like, what did you start doing? Like, what was next?
So it was already like in the works a little bit, and this is just from actual interest. I went to school for video production and marketing and advertising, but while I was playing with the Chicago Bears, my first time around, after I initially signed with them, I was actually one of the first NFL athletes to sign with Wilhelmina Models, which was a major modeling agency. And I knew that wasn't going to be the end-all game, but I knew that I could see a shift in a trend coming. Fitness, athleticism, like athletes were becoming at the forefront of all things, sports, wellness, entertainment. And I also knew that would be an in to get me in the right circles and in the right places. And I had an advantage. I was an NFL athlete, and there was no one else on that roster. So if anything did shake up or whatever the case down the road, I had one of the most powerful agencies in the world in my corner, and also being one of the most unique athletes, or the only one on their roster like me, I knew they would work for me. And then I just started building my network. I looked for mentors. I really started studying, even during interviews or with the NFL media opportunities, how that went down, both in front of the camera and on the other side. And that was my initial step. And then when I decided not to take the opportunity with the Cardinals, I immediately just reached out to my agent. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. I reached out to my sports agent, and I was like, whatever we can do to get this started, I'm all in. And, I know that we'll be successful if we go down this road.
So Wilhelmina, they're a pretty small agency. I've never heard of them. They're enormous. Anyway, but what was it that, at what point did you say, holy crap, these guys are enormous? But how did they find you? Did your agent find them?
I honestly was like recruiting them before. I saw them as an up and coming agency, and I knew just from studying things that were going on, and with their boards or what I'd seen in other agencies, I saw how athletes were being utilized in a different way than ever before in media and marketing, and I just kept reaching out like, hey, I love everything that you're doing. I see that you're starting to do more in the sports, the wellness space, and I'd love to work with you. And it took some time. It wasn't like a just overnight thing. And then my agent manager, Topher Dupree, who's had my back since day one, flew out to LA from New York, where I was training in the off seasons. We sat down and met, and he just like, I'd love to have you a part of the team. And, I believe that we can do some awesome things, and we're here if we ever need you, if you ever need us. And since then, they've got a pretty robust roster of either former athletes or, even current athletes. So I literally was like the trailblazer, one of the first to do it.
All right. Now, obviously, as you could tell, I'm a model also for a really old, pudgy guy. No, I'm kidding. But so is there the whole, do they teach you to be the diva thing? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm joking. But tell me a little bit about what types of shoots did you like to do? Are there some that you prefer to do over others? Is it?
When I went into it, it was never anything about being a model and being glamorous in front of a camera. And a lot of people would look at it, at that time it was like a little taboo, but now everyone, it's a thing to do, right, with social media and Instagram.
Right.
But my biggest thing was I was able to select the styles of shoots I want. I would take, like, my first campaign was like a national campaign with Nike, and I wasn't signed officially as a Nike athlete when I was with the NFL, and those are the types of things that I knew were low-hanging fruit. But also, as video was starting to progress more and more, I knew that not only did I know movements, I understood visuals. I went to school for all the things on the back end, but I could perform at an extremely high level, and that was only going to make their product better. And I just really stayed consistent with that, all the while using and building my resume or my list of clients. And I really focused on taking the best of the best, and even if that meant I wasn't going to be as busy early on, because I knew down the road it's so important with how you align yourself with. And also I knew that they were going to have the top level productions, they were going to have the best talent on every set, and that it was going to get great reach. And all those things helped me grow my social following. It helped me grow my knowledge of what a professional and high-end shoot is like.
Right.
And since, if we fast forward, I've been able to work and collaborate with some of the best freelancers and digital creators in the world. And to the point we've gone on and produced our own things for, major brands like Under Armour, Grey Goose. We've done some really awesome things with Michelob Ultra, Hugo Boss.
So you're 31 still.
31, yeah.
You still, you were a couple of hours ago. You're still 31. But what's the plan? Like, how do you want to grow all this, or what do you think you want to do? Are you kind of like seeing how it evolves?
No, I mean, so I've had a vision from day one, and I think as we talk about making your mark, I understood that the draw initially to get in front of the face. So sports was a great connector. It was a great in, if you will. But I have always wanted to build as a sought-after media personality and host, but on the back end, like really bring together some amazing events, docu-style pieces, docu-series. And that's exactly, I look at a 5-year plan, and I'm in year 4 of it. And as I framed this out even 4 or 5 years ago, it's hitting pretty close. So, I'm represented now by roughly 5 different agencies in different capacities. And the amazing thing about that is, as I've been scaling in business, I've been able to utilize their resources and their assistants and their legal team and their financing team as I scaled my own internal team. So a little over 4 years ago, I started Mossmart Media, knowing that as a talent, I'm a brand. And that was going to get me so far. But as I've, progressed over the years, I've started bringing on full-time people internally with my team that has allowed and will continue to allow me to take on bigger projects. And, hopefully this year we'll start working on our first docu-style piece.
So growing from that, I mean, it's, do you want to be like the host of the Entertainment Tonight? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
am I gonna,
I mean, I think Michael Strahan, how he's done and built his career is absolutely unbelievable. And, granted, he's a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ, but, he still had to play to his strengths right away and then branched out. Right. So that versatility is major. But, and I think we're in a day and age now where if you can get some of that brand recognition and reach, but you also understand the marketing, the advertising on the other side, the collaborations, you can do anything. And then that forms numerous streams of revenue that all can come back into your LLC or your whatever enterprise you're building. I mean, he's got his suit and his suit wear. He's doing things with G3 Apparel and Marcraft Group, which is distributing all of the NFL's licensed apparel. He's hosting on camera, but he's also producing. And, that's a powerful mix of different things. And, that also creates longevity, sustainability, and residual income.
Residual income is the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, switching gears just a little bit. Obviously, this is called Make Your Mark, and what I'm really passionate about is really hearing from athletes who have gone through experiences and the advice they'd like to give. So, I'd love to hear from you if you could speak to some of the current guys playing, but any athlete that's out there who's really focused 24/7 on their sport. What can they and what should they do whether it's develop a secondary interest, what is it? What would you advise somebody that's,
I think the biggest thing that I could say to any athlete that is 100% fully in their sport and doesn't have or has not begun the process of building outside of that is start building a team first and foremost, because you have to focus and put extreme effort, mindfulness, and consciousness in everything that you're doing in your profession. And it's not your job to be an expert of all things, because if you try to, you'll be a master of none.
Right.
And that's the number one thing. What helped me, and I went through some low points. I mean, after I transitioned out, I had to start from scratch, and I got some good business opportunities just through knowledge and studying some industries, and I made some a lot of money really quick after football, but I didn't have the team fully built on the back end to protect me. And there were some different contract things. There's some even with the economy and finance, and I had to restart from scratch again when I went out to New York. But since then, I built a very, very strong team, and I think that starts with finance. You have to have someone who you trust and believe in, who can sort out opportunities and deals or pursue them, because as a talent, as an athlete, you can't go out and be emailing and contacting all these brands and everything's like that. That's not your job and your focus. Then as things grow and more come in, you can really just take a look at things and be like, this doesn't align with my life. I don't want that. Right. But this opportunity, this sparks an interest, and really come from places of things that you like and enjoy, because that's an interesting story, because people don't get a look at athletes' lives in an in-depth detail. So build a team, and then also just play to your strengths.
That's great advice, because it's funny. I think the majority of athletes, number one, they feel invincible. They feel that they can play forever. Yeah. But as a million people have said, you have 100% certainty of retiring from sport. Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. And I think a lot of people feel, well, I can wait till the next day. I'll start tomorrow. That sort of thing. But I think now more and more we're seeing examples of athletes that are really turning to business, and it could be something like fashion, or photography, or finance, or real estate, whatever it might be, and so we're seeing that's improving. But I think we need to see more of the athletes themselves sort of telling their teammates or their friends, look, guys, you can't just be out partying every night. Yeah, you're 23 and invincible, or 28, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's going to end eventually. So it's got to be fully prepared. So in terms of the team, yes, but then what else do you think, if you look back to yourself, what are, give me an idea of a mistake that you made that you, if you could switch it,
I think early on, financial consciousness creates freedom in all aspects. And, I really wish I would have taken more time to hone in on the financial aspects right away, more so my money was working for me from the beginning, rather than me feeling like I had to continue to work so hard for my money.
Right.
And then also just have, diversify that. When you're getting cash in, and this is with everyone, human nature, you get all this in and you start seeing it and you want to just keep it all. But if you're going to invest in yourself, if you're going to invest in your brand and your business, you got to pay to play. And I'm a firm believer in that. And you have to invest in people, but it's got to be the right people. So I wish, knowing what I know now, I would have invested a little bit more money, possibly into people to source and do some of those things, but also really honed in, with my financial advisor, who I went off a referral basis right away, and they were okay, but they weren't great. They made mistakes. And those things over a period of years add up.
They do.
And, that's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And once you, if you take a little bit of time early on, a couple extra days to resource vet, ask questions, that can save you years and years and years of headache.
Really is amazing. And, because it's all compounding money, right? I mean, so if you make a mistake today that costs you $1,000, that $1,000 worth, $80,000 10 years from now, whatever it is. So you're absolutely right. Right now, what do you say you spend most of your time doing? What's keeping you busy now?
Definitely most of my time right now is the hosting, but also the producing. So I consult for a lot of brands on their campaign development. We build out a lot of the visual shot treatments, things like that are going to be activated in campaigns. And like that's been a really big focus. I travel a lot. I've got some partners now in wellness and travel destination company that has done over 50 retreats globally, and that brings people from all over the world together. And these are all things that I like, but between those three things, that's the bulk portion of it. And I feel really good and comfortable with that because they all align and they're all really streamlined within my lifestyle.
So what else do you have going on this weekend or whatever we are? Today's Friday. So
I know the days just run together, right?
Yeah, no, right.
The days run together.
Because there are between 2 and 6 billion events to go to, and everybody's sort of hey, I'm doing it. We had our event yesterday, and then now that I'm done, I'm like, oh, all right, well now I can just finally kind of relax a little bit, except for this podcast stuff. But anyway.
No, I enjoy this. I love this. This is a highlight of the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay to see that.
It really is. Yeah.
You're the best. So in terms of, we talked a little bit about being an entrepreneur and sort of growing your own brand and everything else, but not everybody's cut out to be one, but almost everybody's cut out to be one. I think we all have, to an extent, the entrepreneurial spirit in us, but like, what gets you jazzed every day? Like, you wake up every day, you're like, all right.
I mean, gratitude first and foremost, and you hear this all the time from people, but I'm truly appreciative and thankful for the things that I get to do, not that I have to do. Because I remember as kids, we didn't have a damn thing, and like my mom had to work constantly, my dad as well, just to keep a roof over our heads, and I've also seen how people will praise you and then things can shift and you don't have anything. I've also seen how, you're trying to maintain this level of image and status, and it's like you can't get your head above water. So, coming full circle now, I really take a position of gratitude with a lot of things, and also doing the things and having that plan and see it executed over a course of the year and seeing the fruits of your labor start showing, like that for me is exciting. I've always had a business mind and background, but like the art of creating a deal, like I get like off to that. Like that's like, I love it. It's a rush for me. But also I think now understanding and seeing how I built a team and how everyone is benefiting from it. 'Cause I feel like I'm just dropping quotes and everything, but the best deal is a good deal for everybody. And I see people who trusted me early on through collaboration or just putting their themselves out there, and like that gave me an opportunity, and it's really come full circle to where we're all winning from it.
Got it. All right, so we're gonna shift gears now, and this is a little hit your mark segment. It's a piece of cake. I'm just gonna ask you a couple quick questions. Your favorite athlete growing up? Not named Johnny Rogers.
Yeah, I was a Kobe Bryant fan. Yeah. I idolized Kobe Bryant growing up, and then Jerry Rice and Randy Moss, the two best receivers in the world.
Yeah, and tough. It's funny, I mentioned a few words yesterday about Kobe and how not only obviously was that a tremendous tragedy and what happened, not just to him, but the other people on that helicopter and so forth, but it was almost like a quick slap in the face of like a reminder to all of us that we're mortal. Like we're not always in control of our destiny, right? And it, I think it shook a lot of people because they were like, holy crap, that's like, this is an icon, Kobe. Yeah. It didn't happen to like some backup whatever for the whatevers. Yeah. This was Kobe Bryant. Yeah. And so, it reminded me, I'm a lot older, but it reminded me when I was a kid and I heard that John Lennon had got shot. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my, like I remember all about that. Or, like there's certain people when things happen to them, you kind of remember it. And that was like a
yeah. I'll never forget the moment that happened. I was on set filming a project, and the entire set shut down. A lot of the production team was from LA, and they're like, this just happened to Kobe Bryant, and it was like truly, from an athlete's perspective, understanding like his impact in the sport, but beyond, was heartbreaking. I think about where I grew up in a small town in South Dakota, but like even when I go back now, like if I go to the mall, like everyone knows me. Like I couldn't leave basketball games or go to the mall in high school without having crowds of people come because we didn't have professional sports.
Right.
But I think about like even some of the kids that looked up to me, and even now to this day that are playing in college, and if something happened, how heartbreaking that would be. And I poured everything all my life into like basketball and athletics, but I modeled myself after a player like that. And that just shows the power sports has, but not like more so than that, him as a human being. And also just not only his love for the game, but that transitions into so many other things. So it was a heartbreaking moment, and I've still thought about it each and every day, and it's really made me do some soul searching and a hard shift on how I approach my day-to-day after the fact.
And that hopefully that has that impact on a lot of people, because it's sort of done the same with me too. So what? All right. So what do you got? A spaceship landing on us here in a few minutes. So quick thing. So you're a fashion guy. You wear nice threads, all this kind of stuff. I'm assuming anyway.
Yeah.
Now, can someone find you in a Target?
So I pop up from time to time. Most recently, I've done Express. I did a National Express campaign, which was really fun. I got to speak about my connection with Special Olympics Global as the Special Olympics ambassador. I've done Under Armour campaigns, global campaigns. I've got a nice piece that's going to be coming out here in the near future.
But I mean, if I just go out right now to Target and get you like a flannel shirt.
Oh, you got to go to Dick's Sporting Goods, or you have to go to Express. That's where I'm at right now.
Right,
you can find me at Dick's Sporting Goods or in Express.
That's funny. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for coming down. Obviously you figured out how to make an impact, leaving your game and the sport and really transitioning into a lot of great stuff. I mean, you're still obviously a young guy. You got everything in front of you, but you've already accomplished a lot of stuff. Yeah. And that's what I always appreciate, someone who's making their mark. That's the whole point of this thing, right? So thanks for coming down. I mean,
Yeah. No, I appreciate you giving me the time to share my story, my background, and some of the things I have going on. And, the show is spot on, right? I think athletes are more mindful than ever of the importance of understanding the all-encompassing thing of what sports is. Sports is a business, but also themselves as a business. And, I take pride and want to be seen as, a young entrepreneur, minority who's been successful and really continue to push the envelope. And the best is yet to come. I always say that. I know that only scratched the surface, but I've had some great people in my corner through and through. And I think if you can take that approach as well as like understanding that life and all these things are bigger than you, it makes the low times a lot easier to just kind of brush off and keep moving forward. That's a great answer. So I'm going to, in a little while later, I'm going to go get a football. I'm going to throw you, see if you still got it. Hey, let's do it. Hey, there's so many pools. We could take it to the beach. We could go to the beach. We got options for days. By the way, so I shouldn't say how old I am, but I'm over 50. I can still throw a ball 50 yards. You're looking good for over 50. So. Oh man. We'll test it out. We'll have to get out there and throw the pigskin around a little bit. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you for having me. All the best. Thanks so much for joining us today on this episode of Make Your Mark Podcast. The goal of the podcast is to help you find ways to make your mark, to succeed in life, and to jump past your competition. Be sure to leave me a review on iTunes and Stitcher, and subscribe to be the first to hear new episodes. If you're looking for ways to make your mark, send me an email, mark@markmoyer.com, and I'll get back to you right away. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.